There we go. All right, mic is good. Double check that this is good and live. Definitely looks a little. There we go. All right, everything looks good there. I'm not gonna really have much going on. I'm gonna give this just a minute to see if we can get some viewers coming in. We're gonna go do some little bit of advertising and promoting on Twitter. See if we can find some stuff. Here we are. Whoever my viewer is, thanks for dropping them in. We're about to get started here soon. We're just doing a little promoting on Twitter and stuff as the hopefully get a few more viewers in here before we start. If you're a new viewer, let me know who your team is. If you're a returning viewer, who you are. Let's see. We're just running through some Raven Flock hashtags on Twitter right now. Trying to see if there's any good one. You know, I should tweet at like Jeff Zerbiak and all them. And again, if you're new, if you're new to the channel, whoever's dropping in, of course we cover primarily Baltimore Ravens and such like that, but we also, of course, do enjoy talking about everything across the NFL. So if you're not part of Raven Flock, again, let me know who your team is. Kenneth in chat, my guy. I don't know if you've seen my other videos. I am not a fan of Harbaugh. I've been a vocal critic of Harbaugh for a long time. And kind of like you're saying, he's a special teams quarterback. Here's the way I explain it to people to give respect to Harbaugh, because, you know, he's not an awful person or coach or anything. But I believe Harbaugh is a good leader of men. I think he's an average football coach. And that's how I put it. I feel like he's messed up roster decisions when it comes to, you know, like training camp, who he keeps on the roster, as well as game day management. And that goes all the way back to when we got our butts whooped in Denver after the Super Bowl. That was poor roster management that kind of cost us that game. And a little bit, other than, of course, his famous safety punt situation, other than that, I've seen mismanagement of the clock, in my opinion, and just it's one of those ones. I feel like sometimes he's putting too much on Lamar. It is your job as a head coach to draw that line and be like, yeah, Lamar, I know you want to stay out there, but come here, we need 3 points. Like, because a lot of those games came down to 3 points or so. I honestly, my number one coaching, what I truly wanted for Baltimore, I wanted what's his name, Jason Sted. the offensive coordinator basically for Philly, I wanted him to come in as Baltimore's head coach and, of course, bring his quarterback coach, who's even in discussion for offensive coordinator jobs, bring him in as the offensive coordinator. From my understanding and what I've read in the NFL circles, his ability to like reverse engineer an offense specifically on a game plan for an individual opponent is like subpar to none in the NFL right now. And he brings a level of youth and ingenuity to the game that his players respond well to. And of course, it's one of those ones he could do well with Lamar, or he could do well with another. Before I get into this, I'm gonna ask you right now, Kenneth, what's your take on the Lamar situation? Of course, we're gonna go over it here very shortly. I even got a PowerPoint slide up for it, but so Kenneth, I don't know if you know, I just sent a message also to Tony Lombardi, the guy who runs Russell Street Report, asking, basically seeing if he wants to stop in before we get this started. So it's definitely going to be an interesting situation. Again, I'm trying to see if there's anything else Raven Flock on Twitter that would be a really good, at. Let me see here. Go back to my people I follow. I'm going to tweet at a couple people as well here. So again, apologies for giving me just one moment before we really get started here. Following. Exactly. And I've talked about that one of my videos when just throwing the hypotheticals out there of teams he could go to. And I referenced it, the Lamar effect, because Lamar carries such energy and such hype that, and I made the example, what if he went to the Detroit Lions? Can you imagine the energy Lamar could bring back to that franchise itself would be unbelievable. It would be a franchise reviver, and that is the extent of Lamar. So the real question, though, you want him paid, but how much? That's the actual question, and I've gone over that in some videos, and we're going to go over it a little bit in this video as well. And he is electric. I think, of course, Lamar, and I've talked about it, and I've said it plenty of times on the video, I think Lamar's potential is, of course, number one in the league MVP, a once-in-a-generation kind of player, really. Has he played up to that, in my opinion? No, but like I've talked about, how can you truly judge it with the injuries, John Harbaugh and Giro, and something like Kenneth you talked about with firing Harbaugh, and I've discussed here on this channel a few times, is essentially a lot of people don't realize Joe Flacco almost went through as many offensive coordinators as Jake Cutler, and Jake Cutler has always kind of gotten a pass because of that, essentially. While I feel like Harbaugh has truly never taken accountability for all those bad hires and, did Cam Cameron win the Super Bowl, or, I think we were carried for a little bit by legends like Ray Lewis and such, and then when that generation finally got out, I think we saw a huge change. But like you're saying right there, Kenneth in chat, what price are you going to pay for him? I'm not so sure about Watson pay, but 120 million and about 60 to 70. And so that's actually something, Kenneth, I've talked about in other videos. Long term, Lamar Jackson could, of course, franchise tag this year, franchise tag the next year. And the main reason for doing that, and they talked about, is right now the franchise tag sits about 43 to 45 million, and we're about to see an exploding market for quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, of course, Russ and Aaron Rodgers got their deals. So the new market price is probably going to be about $46 million average, is what most people are thinking. However, you have contracts like Aaron Rodgers. Hey, Penguin, what's up? Thanks for dropping in again. But you have contracts like Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson, who Deshaun, like we're going to talk about here shortly in this video, Deshaun Watson's cap hit this year, $9 million. Next year's cap hit is $54 million for Deshaun Watson. And as we've talked about, so yeah. So the thing is, right now that number is about 46 million average is what most quarterbacks are going to be aiming for. However, if he franchise tagged and then franchise tagged subsequently, the average pay would be around 60 to 70 million dollars, kind of like what you're saying. It's a tough one to swallow, and we're going to kind of go over a little bit here both the scenarios of course, working with the franchise tag, the possible extension numbers, as well as trade situations. But the thing really is the NFLPA truly is pushing Lamar to be the bookend contract to Deshaun Watson. Maury Smith and NFLPA basically know that if they can get this one down, they can the players' negotiating power will truly, skyrocket and be on the rise. And like you're kind of talking about, Lamar brings that energy, that franchise reviving energy almost, that there's going to be someone probably that will give Lamar that contract. And we've discussed a little bit about Deshaun Watson's contract here and there in some of the other videos. I think Lamar, of course, is worth around that $46 million a year average. I don't buy into the Deshaun Watson contract. We even have like conspiracy theories like about that in some sense. It's been going good, Penguin. I've just had a lot of work going on. I forgot honestly that it was the weekend this past weekend. I was just so caught up in everything, and then spend time with the girlfriend and such. But we're gonna kind of get started here a little more so. With that being said, so let me hop off Twitter, hop off Facebook here for marketing and promoting purposes. And we're going to basically talk here. What's the offseason plan for the Baltimore Ravens? And what can we kind of expect here if, per se, I was the Raven. Ooh, I lost both my other viewers. Ouch. But, so per se, if I was the GM of the Baltimore Ravens, and the route I would go, which there might cause some controversy with this video, but we'll see. Kellen in chat, do you think that other players are going to be skeptical when it's their time to get contract pay? They won't get it either. And see, we're going to kind of talk about that here shortly in this video, Kenneth, because there's going to be a lot of implications whether he goes the franchise tag route of, back-to-back franchise tags. There's going to be a lot of options if we sign the extension and what that money's going to look like, And then, of course, we don't want to see Lamar go. But if he's got his line in the sand, per se, about basically a fully guaranteed contract, and, of course, we know Steve Biscotti's got his line drawn in the sand as well. With that being said, we have to also entertain the idea that Lamar ends up playing in another jersey next year. Herd Penguin, thanks for always dropping in. I really appreciate it. All right, so we got to start with, of course, analyzing. I got to back out on my camera here a little bit. And I'm sorry it's not as big. I wish it was a little bigger. But we have to talk about the unrestricted free agents and restricted free agents for Baltimore. And we're only going to talk about the key ones here, guys, because I'm not trying to cover all of them. Of course, Lamar Jackson's number one on this list. However, you know, we're going to discuss the Lamar situation here a little bit at the end because I'm basically playing everything else before, and then basically we're going to talk about Lamar and work him into everything. Number two on this list, it's not necessarily in order, but it's going to be Ben Powers. And we're going to talk about here, he played himself into the money. A lot of the numbers we're going to be discussing here are going to be based off OTC or over the cap, which I feel like is one of the better cap and salary websites that's out there. What do you think Aaron will stay? Like I said, I called it a while ago. Aaron Rodgers going to the Raiders. That's a high possibility. And actually, we're going to talk about in the Lamar scenario, the Rodgers decision could play a huge part in the quarterback market. And we're going to also talk a little bit about the free agent market. It's going to be a pretty good quarterback free agent market potentially. So this is going to be one of the most exciting free agency periods, in my opinion, that I've seen in a long time. But of course, according to OTC, the evaluation on Ben Powers, he played at approximately like a $10 million guard level. As we talked about in some of the other videos, we predict Ben Powers to sign a contract potentially somewhere else, between $7 and $10 million in average. He was one of the best pass blocking guards in the NFL this year. So he's playing himself into some money, but right there, as a Baltimore fan, there's some serious comp pick potential. Because in the way that I'm building this roster, I'm not looking to sign a lot of free agents. I'm really trying to build some compensatory picks coming back to Baltimore as well. What about the implication? He's a high cap. The implications of who, Kenneth, apologies. If you're talking about Rodgers, I'll talk about that a little bit later. But the Jets is on the option, Penguin, and we'll talk about that because Lamar's on, an option for the New York Jets, even though we talked about I doubt that one because if I'm the GM of the Baltimore Ravens and I'm going to trade Lamar, I'm trading him to the NFC. I'm not keeping him in AFC. I'm not even going to give him the chance for revenge games. What about MP? He's a high cap MP. Oh, Marcus Peters. Oh, my MP. We are definitely going to address Marcus Peters. In this scenario, I am going to actually re-sign Marcus Peters. And right here, I don't have a lot of the numbers, but trust me, we're about to go into those numbers. Don't you worry. And we're going to talk about Calais Campbell. So in the dream situation here, just looking at key free agents and restricted free agents. Ben Powers, I'm going to have to let him go to free agency. I expect McCary to be able to step up. McCary's going to be getting like $6 million a year. So I expect Patrick McCary to basically either step up into left guard and fill, or we're going to be looking at young players like Cleveland and potentially some draft picks as well, which, again, we're going to go into here later. Justin Houston, we're going to re-sign. And again, we're going to go into the actual numbers here in just a moment. Brent Urban, I'm going to make the choice to re-sign. Josh Oliver, our tight end, I actually think has played himself into some money. His OTC evaluation for 2022 came out to about $4.697 million. So he definitely played pretty well. It's going to be a pretty good tight end free agent market this potentially as well. There's going to be a little bit playing into that. So there might be some compensatory pick potentials there. Kenyon Drake played at a 1.5 OTC evaluation. Small chance for a comp pick. I'm letting him walk. We're going to sign Demarcus Robinson, and that's also I'm signing Demarcus Robinson also with the hopes of pleasing Lamar Jackson because supposedly Lamar wants Demarcus Rack. And Demarcus actually played at approximately, I think, a $3 million OTC evaluation this year. We're also going to re-sign Jason Pierre-Paul, and we're going to let Justice Hill walk. Justice Hill actually played at a $2 million evaluation, so actually better than Kenyon Drake. So we're going to chat real quick. I'm just wanting Aaron to stay one more year, then Jordan Love comes in. High potential, but you're going to have to, if Penguin goes for the Green Bay Packers to do that, you're going to have some cap casualties due to the high cap hit of Aaron Rodgers. Whereas trading him and playing Jordan Love now, would allow you to play with some money and not have to touch your roster at all, which is very enticing. Ronnie Stanley. So we're going to talk about Ronnie Stanley too here in just a moment because, Kenneth, I got to find some money on this roster. So as the GM of the Baltimore Ravens, I'm about to try to find some money on the roster. So stay tuned. We're about to go over all that as well. So I'm going to lean back here so we can see the restricted free agents. So restricted free agents, they can't necessarily, see if I can go to the other side. There we go. So restricted free agents here, Tyler Huntley, we're going to tender Tyler Huntley. We're going to go over that exact tender and number here on the next slide. Geno Stone's going to be a very interesting one. We can possibly extend him, tender him, or let him walk based upon the Chuck Clark situation. With that being said, I would actually sign him to either an original tender offer or a right of first refusal, which we'll go over those numbers here on the next slide. Tristan Colon Castillo, no tender, but of course we do want him back in Baltimore. I don't think we'll have a hard time kind of getting him back like on a 1-year little short deal. And Nick Moore, our exclusive restricted free agent, who is our long snapper, I think it's going to be really important to keep him here in Baltimore. And with that being said, we're going to sign him to a 3-year deal, a little less than his former counterpart, part of the Wolfpack that's in Tennessee now, Morgan Cox. But we're going to go over those numbers here in just a moment. I don't really see the point of the Packers keeping Rodgers at this point. We're going to chat here. Chimera, I don't really see the point of Packers keeping Rodgers at this point. Their window is shut. They aren't getting past the Vikings or Lions. Ooh, shots fired. Shots fired by Chimera. Penguin Goats. Kenneth made sure and subscribe if you have not. Yes, again, subscribe if you have not. Kenneth, they're letting Chuck Clark go. So no, we're not letting Chuck Clark go. It's one of those ones. Chuck Clark is the height of professionalism. He, asked for the trade originally. We talked to him. He was such a professional, put in good work in Baltimore. So it's one of those ones he is going to have a high cap hit. And so here's some of the things we're looking at. Basically, we have to look at the cap numbers for next year. Ronnie Stanley, of course, coming in at $23.6 million. Got to do something about that. Missed a little too much time. He's getting paid as like a top 3 tackle. Kevin Zeitler, $9.4 million. And we're going to do this. I've never said once on this stream, and I promise you can go through it. I've never said Kevin Zeitler was going to retire. I never thought he was. I want to keep Kevin Zeitler around, and we're going to talk about extending Kevin Zeitler. Calais is going to be an interesting factor here. Calais is due $9.4 million. He only played for $3 million last year, guys. I want you to think about that. Calais paid for only $3 million. He evaluated at 6.545 according to OTC evaluations. So, we might be able to work something out. However, according to Over the Cap, there's no restructure option to save money. Only through an extension, which I don't see Calais doing. Tyus Bowser's coming in with a 6.5 million cap. We're going to address that. And Chuck's coming in at 6.2. I don't want to let Chuck go. I would rather keep Chuck, Kyle Hamilton, and Marcus Williams, because I love Marcus Williams, of course. But we might have to let Chuck go. Michael Pierce coming in with a 5.9. And when Michael was healthy at the beginning of the season, he was playing outstanding. PFF had him, I think, a 90-plus rating several games. Gus Edwards with a $5.6 million cap. And when we're discussing the cap here, I'm going to lean back a little bit. We also have to talk. The approximate cost for an exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson, we're looking at approximately $43 to $45 million for that. We have $26 million in cap space, according to Over the Cap. Spot Track puts us closer at 28.6. I'm just putting that out there to show that there might be, different numbers. But most of our calculations, like we're saying, is going with Over the Cap for this. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Chimera. I hope you feel better. But so with this, though, these are the big numbers that we have to be looking at, and we're going to actually address all of these names on this list here because like I said, we have to find some cap space here for no matter what happens with Lamar Jackson. And like I said, we're saving Lamar Jackson here for the end, and I'm basically building this roster and then making my decision on Lamar. So with that being said, sorry we got a lot of numbers here on the screen. You can ignore everything on the bottom left. That's just explaining the tenders for restricted free agents. So I talked about this in our ideal world. We're tendering Tyler Huntley. I expect to tender him probably with a second-round pick. You could go first-round pick here, but for cap implications, I'm fine with receiving a second-round pick, or matching offer. So that's going to cost me approximately $3.986 million. So with Geno Stone, like we just talked about, the biggest thing is the Chuck Clark situation. In this situation, I'm going to end up trading Chuck Clark. And we talk about this. This is wherever Chuck wants to go. If I have to trade Chuck Clark for cap situation, he wants to go because he can go make more money, honestly, on a new deal somewhere else, according to OTC, over the cap's valuation. So OTC evaluated Geno Stone at about 2.49, which on an original round offer is almost exactly on match with his pay. Now, Geno Stone, I believe, was a 7th or 6th round pick, so we also could go with potentially the last tender there, the right of refusal offer, basically just saying, hey, we'll match what someone's willing to pay Geno. And that's basically the backup because Geno played pretty good when Marcus Williams dropped out. So basically that would leave Geno, Marcus Williams, and Kyle Hamilton as our top 3 safeties, which I'm more than okay with. Tristan Colon Castillo, who's one of our guards, I'm going to give a no tender. However, as we talked about, I'm going to try to kind of get him to come back to Baltimore on maybe a 1-year $895 deal or something. Nick Moore, our exclusive restricted free agent, who is our long snapper, I'm looking to sign him somewhere between a 3-year deal averaging $825,000 to $1.2 million. For that sake, when I do the calculation, I average at $1 million. That 1.2 evaluation is basically based on what Morgan Cox in Tennessee, our former long snapper, left us for, and which is why we're also going with that $1 million flat. So we talked about, though, the re-signings. Let me slide here to the other side. I don't know, actually, yeah, where those work better over here. All right, so we're going to talk about this. Marcus Peters' current contract was approximately worth $14 million. Andy Isabella, not worth my time, honestly. Devin Duvernay's, we've got him until the next free agency, and especially if we're keeping Lamar, we need some bigger wide receivers. So Andy Isabella's not even in my calculations on this. Marcus Peters was costing us $14 million coming off the cap. OTC only evaluated him at $3 million, which I call BS on that one. With injuries, OTC does have you have to pay for the more deeper calculations based off injuries usually. So whenever I did this video earlier, we valued Marcus Peters at approximately $7 to $9.5 million market value. A little less than his $14 million average. For this sake, we're looking to sign Marcus Peters on approximately $9.5 million a year average to an extension. Moving on to the next part, Justin Houston. So Justin Houston played on a $3.5 million salary. His evaluation was 4.7. Justin Houston is someone who played himself into money and might actually be able to get a $5 million contract somewhere. I think Aaron Rodgers, going to chat, I think Aaron Rodgers is still good, and Kenneth. And yeah, we're going to keep Duvernay around for a while. But we're going to talk about here in a little bit, Kenneth, if we extend Lamar, Duvernay's probably gone. Not, of course, in next year, but with that being said, also, I would love to bring Kyle Fuller back. He never even got a chance to play for us, really. I've always kind of been a fan of Kyle Fuller. With that being said, Kyle Fuller signed for a $2.5 million deal. OTC valued him at 1.4. So I think a 1.5, 1.4 is going to be more than fair on that deal. Going back to chat. Oh yeah, great punt return. Oh yeah, Devin Duvernay, great punt return. I'm trying to keep him in Baltimore as a slot punt returner for his career. as our slot wide receiver and punt returner. Morgan Moses, I'm actually a fan of. A lot of people were very hating on him at first, but if you actually look at the stats, he didn't play that bad. His contract's not that terrible, in my opinion. And basically, he's just grooming Daniel Falele to take over at right tackle. Daniel had to play a little bit at left tackle this season, and of course, it didn't really go well. But I think as a right tackle, Falele has tremendous potential in going into this next year and the year after. So I'm not going to touch Morgan Moses for now. I'm just probably going to let his contract expire. So when he walks as a free agent, like I think the year after, we have potential compensatory pick potential there. Going down the list again, looking at Brent Urban, signed at $895. Maybe a $1.2 million deal there. I kind of like Brent Urban. He played well this year. He always had injury concerns before he left Baltimore, but he played solid in my opinion. So Demarcus Robinson's going to be a really interesting one. So Lamar has expressed interest that he wants Demarcus Robinson back. Demarcus Robinson's playing on a very small deal, like $895,000 to $1 million. However, Demarcus showed flashes, especially in that little short screen game, that his OTC valuation is approximately $3.9 million. With that being said, we're bringing DeMarcus back too. I'm not sure if I did that $3.9 million or if I did maybe I think I did $2.5 million average for DeMarcus Robinson, which I think is a fair number. We're still giving a pay increase, and again, it's about Lamar. Jason Pierre-Paul, we're bringing back again. He played at a $1.15 million contract. OTC evaluated his play at approximately $2 million a year. I'm more than comfortable bringing JPP back as a backup to Ojabo and Oweh at $2 million a year. So that right there, minus Lamar Jackson, guys, is our restricted free agent and free agent signings, re-signings, basically. With that being said, we've got to find money now, because with $26 million, we're going to still need some money back. So, according to Over the Cap, I really don't like working with restructures too much, to be honest with you. Because pushing money down the road can really mess with stuff, and even the Ravens only have to do it when they truly have to. So here's the deal with Ronnie Stanley. I don't want to cut Ronnie. When Ronnie's healthy, Ronnie is absolutely a top 5, top 10 left tackle in the league. I want to keep Ronnie around. However, as we examined earlier, that huge $23 million cap hit for not being healthy all the time and all that, I can't have it. So instead of cutting Ronnie, instead of doing anything like that, I'm actually looking to work out an extension with Ronnie. I want to keep Ronnie in Baltimore for a long time. Maybe do some contract work so we can work some more money out with injuries and stuff like that. But according to Over the Cap, if I can extend Ronnie Stanley, I can create $9 million in cap savings this year, which I don't know about you, Kenneth. That makes me extremely happy. Basically, keeping Ronnie Stanley around and $9 million in cap saving, and possibly doing some contract that is more tied to playtime and injuries and such, so that he can still feel comfortable, and have long-term, earnings. And we're still going to keep him a top 10 paid tackle. Absolutely. I'd put enough performances in there that he can make top 3 money, Go into chat real quick before we talk more extensions. Who do you think will win the Super Bowl from Penguin Goats? I think it's Mahomes, man. I think KC gets another heartbreak for Philly fans. I don't know. It's going to be really tough, and it's going to be an amazing game. I've already talked to the girlfriend. I'm going to be, making sure to cover it. Philly's so deep everywhere, but Mahomes is magical, bro. I think Mahomes pulls it out. Kenneth from chat, I'm hoping Philly. Mahomes too cocky like Joe Burrow. And, Mahomes is pretty confident, but, man, watching him play on that seriously messed up ankle, and the kid's magic, dude. Last one from chat before I get back to the talk in the video a little more. Kenneth, Sammy Watkins, keep him or get rid of him? I'm getting rid of him. I'm letting Sammy go. Trust me, I understand the importance of having a good veteran in the room. However, that veteran now is Devin Duvernay. That's my veteran in the room. Devin's getting older. He's coming up on a free agent. I think he's that guy, and especially also Demarcus Robinson, because in our plans we've re-signed Demarcus Robinson as well. So Demarcus and Devin are going to be the leaders of that wide receiver room for me, with Bateman and possibly some young wide receivers. And of course, there's the very off small chance, and we're going to talk about this here a little later in the video, that we make the trade for DeAndre Hopkins from Arizona. You know, which of course at that point we don't need Sammy Watkins at that point as a veteran presence, in my opinion. Um, so, so again, though, we're trying to find money by extensions and not doing restructures, really. So, according to Over the Cap, we can save $9 million by working out a good extension with Ronnie Stanley. Kevin Zeitler, again, I never talked about Kevin Zeitler retiring. Never thought that. I'd love to keep Kevin Zeitler for another few years, just like maybe add another year or two onto that contract, you know. But according to that, we can save $4.2 million in cap savings by extending Zeitler. Gus Edwards, if you've ever known me, dude, I have been beating Gus the Bus drums since Mark Ingram was in Baltimore. I have always been a fan of Gus Edwards, and I think he's an outstanding running back. I know I'm a little biased because I love downhill running styles. So I don't want Gus Edwards to be a cap casualty. I'm trying to keep this roster basically as intact as possible while bringing in some good um, talent via the draft and maybe picking up some comp picks for next year by letting guys like Powers and Kenyon Drake and Justice Hill and Josh Oliver walk. So if we can extend Gus Edwards, again, keeping this everyone together, we can save $2.6 million in savings. So Calais Campbell became the part of the issue. Like we talked about, according to Over the Cap, even restructuring Calais Campbell's contract save us no money. However, they say according to it that if we extend him, we can find $4.68 million in cap savings. Even though it's very unlikely, I'm still going to roll with that because I'm really hoping we can figure something out with Calais to keep him. I feel so bad we did not get a Super Bowl for Calais. So with that being said, though, those are 4 extensions that I'm going to try to work out to create some cap space for Baltimore. Zeitler, Edwards are both also 2024 free agents. So they're coming up for free agency. I'm just trying to keep them in Baltimore a little longer and pay them pretty well. And I'll get back to chat here in just a moment. So with that being said, I'm still trying to find cap space. Tyus Bowser has been mentioned as a potential cap casualty and trade option. The future of Baltimore's outside linebacker position is David Ojabo and Owe. Of course, in our talks earlier, we signed Jason Pierre-Paul and Houston basically to be the backups to those two. With that being said, not that Tyus Bowser has played bad. Tyus has played pretty well. It's about that like $6.5 million cap hit while also having the future on the roster. With that being said, if we trade or cut, which of course I'm trying to trade because we only have, I believe, 5 picks going into the NFL draft. EDC is going to want approximately 8 or more. So with that being said, we're also trying to find some not only cap space, but some draft picks. If we get him traded post June 1st, Baltimore can create $4.5 million in cap space there. Again, which is a pretty good chunk, you know what I'm saying? Then I'm moving on to the Michael Pierce. So we got to address Michael Pierce. The injury kills me. I feel like Michael Pierce was a signing done to make a Super Bowl run. His salary's going up next year from this year, and it's one of those ones. If we trade him or cut him post June, we can again save $4 million in cap space, which is another good chunk. With Justin Madubuike and Broderick Washington coming up as free agents in 2024 as well, we could use that money to possibly extend them and get their extensions ready. And of course, we want to probably keep at least one of those 2 in Baltimore. Basically, next year is going to be, hey, Broderick, hey, Because, of course, we also have Jones, who we drafted out of University of Connecticut this year. So basically next year is saying, hey, you two, you both played absolutely great. Which one of you wants to stay? We're going to go to chat here for a minute. They talking about him playing on a high ankle sprain, compared himself to Lamar, that he could have played in the playoffs. So, Kenneth, I talked about in another video, I secretly think Lamar, and the knee injury is different than the ankle injury, especially because one is a ligament and the other one, it's just a little bit different. I secretly think Lamar's the one that's going to have off-season surgery, and I think that's why Baltimore was so hush about his injury and secretive, and why we saw the difference in opinion from Sammy Watkins and some of the other guys. Like Marlon was like literally said, I don't know if I should tell you all this, but he's like literally limping around the facility. And we talked about in our one video, if the grade of the sprain is correct, it could be a partial or borderline tear, even potentially, because Lamar himself said it's borderline 3, grade 3, which could be a complete tear of the ligament. So, and we talked about in that video, if it was Lamar that was injured, dropping all that information right before playoffs, we would have got dropped from primetime slots at the end. Ticket sales would have dropped. It's something as a actual franchise, someone who's looking at also the money side of the franchise, you couldn't do. So what if also Lamar was, and so I think the comparison there is unfair to Lamar regarding the injury. Chimera, I've got the Eagles 38-28. I think they dominate the whole game. I think their defense is good enough to somewhat limit Mahomes, and their offense is completely unstoppable. And you might be right there, Chimera. This is going to be, I feel like, one of the best Super Bowl matchups we've seen in a while. Because as we talked about earlier in this stream and in our other videos, the offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles is a genius. And Sirianni, the head coach of the Eagles, is also pretty dang good too. So the game plan for the Eagles is going to be just, I mean, unbelievable. It's going to be a mastermind matchup, in my opinion. You know, Reed and Benimi versus Sirianni and Steichen, or whatever his name is. It Penguin Goats, I don't think so. The Chiefs probably going to pull it off. Penguin, that's what I'm saying. Patrick is like magic, man. You never know what he's going to pull out of that back pocket. He'll let Oliver walk. He's on one that. And yeah. Oliver actually, though, is a pretty good pass catching tight end. When he came from Jacksonville, that was his problem. He didn't block well. Baltimore coached him up on it, but he's still not great. But in a pass catching league, OTC valued Oliver about $4 million a year. So, but I think that in that talk also, it's going to work for Baltimore because we're going to get a compensatory pick in 2024 from it. Last one before we go back, or no, I'm sorry, two more. I think that the Ravens definitely going to be a powerhouse of offense next year, and Penguin, no matter what, EDC is going to build Baltimore into a powerhouse, and we're going to go a little more into that here shortly. Kenneth, last message. As I heard that Michael Pierce going to KC, and who do you think are best bet? So who I truly want is Dave Canales from the Seahawks. I truly think, however, we've talked about on this channel, if Dave comes in and we run a good offense, Dave is going to be a head coach next year. So it's one of those ones like we talked about earlier. I don't want Harbaugh because again, why would he come here and then he's going to leave right away? And we feel like Harbaugh might be a little threatened by him. I'm really interested to see if Harbaugh breaks the mold with his hires or continues his trends, and we'll know right away. But Michael Pierce, yeah, man, if we could trade him, and again, we talk as you can see right here, for the comp we're looking for the Tyus Bowser and Michael Pierce trade, we're only looking for at best third, which is not going to happen, to be honest with you. But even if I can get a 6th-round pick for each of them, I'm more than happy with that because I'm just trying to build some depth on the roster. Zach Robinson is a hot name in the NFL, part of the Sean McVay tree. Sorry to go back to chat here. I think he's a good pick, but I'm a little hesitant by his lack of play calling history. Like he doesn't have a history of play calling, or as we talked about in the video, being like a passing game coordinator, like a little bit step up from QB coach. But of course, the coaching tree over there between Sean McVay, which we talked about. Dave Canales is part of the Sean McVay tree. Zach Taylor, and of course, he was there with Zach Taylor. I think Zach Robinson is going to have a future in the NFL. I don't think this is his year. I think next year we see Zach Robinson take a huge step somewhere. And last one, you do realize you were talking to 3 people, right? I do realize I'm talking to a few people. My apologies if I've said anything individual but anyway though, taking a 3rd to 6th pick here for both of those. And Chuck Clark. So Chuck Clark, again, I don't really want him to go. However, if I'm making cap money and if again, as OTC evaluated him as $7 million. So Chuck could probably go somewhere and sign for more money. And as we talked about, of course, I think Chuck is worth like a 2nd, 3rd round pick at minimum. However, as the GM of the Ravens and how Chuck has played and acted so professional, I would be willing to accept basically any pick I would basically allow Chuck Clark to freely negotiate with any team so that because I think Chuck's going to be a 2024 free agent as well. So his deal's coming up. So ideally, and with the cap space in some of these scenarios, we could keep Chuck Clark at that $6 million hit, which would be the most ideal situation for Baltimore. But if he wants to go, and if we truly need money, there's $3.4 million by trading him. So with that said, I'm sorry, event list. So with that being said, we're going to go back to the numbers here. So our starting cap number was $26.8 million. From the savings from trades, cuts, and extensions, and that's including the Chuck Clark, we save approximately $32.38 million. With the cost of the re-signs and tenders, not including Lamar's exclusive franchise tag, cost us $27.576. So doing the math, I've got it there up on the thing. We're going to save $59.18 million. And then after signing doing all the extensions that we talked about while also tendering all the people we talked about, our total cap space left would be $31.604 million. And that would be basically to extend franchise tag and sign the draft class. So as we talked about, though, the exclusive franchise tag is going to cost us $43 to $45 million approximately. That's $12 to $14 million difference from what we have. To cover that, right off the rip, if we have to go the exclusive franchise tag route with Lamar at $43 million, that means we have to give up on re-signing Marcus Peters and we have to give up on re-signing Houston. Not terrible in my opinion, but between that 9.5 and like 4.7, there's our money right there. Thank you for subscribing. Of course, you subscribe like right after I turn off my event list, which of course it didn't. So thank you for the subscription, Kenneth. Let me check my chat here. Kenneth, what about wide receivers? Who's the best fit for the Ravens? So the best fit for the Ravens, especially for Lamar, and we talked about this in some of our other videos, Lamar goes back all the way back to college in Louisville. He throws well to larger wide receivers, guys above 6 foot. I have been so advocate. He needs a big over 6'3" guy. Got to be at least 6'3" that can high point the ball in the red zone or anywhere that he wants it, while Mark Andrews or whoever the tight end works underneath. There's going to be a lot of good wide receivers in the draft. The free agent class, this free agent class is actually pretty strong. However, wide receivers, there's no clear-cut guy. And with the Christian Kirk contract in Jacksonville last year, kind of screwed up the wide receiver market a little bit. There's going to be some dark horses like Jacoby Myers of New England that might hit the free agent market, but there's no true number one guy. There's also the option of going and getting someone like DeAndre Hopkins. It might cost us a 3rd round pick, and we have to also at that point, and we're going to talk about here, have to find somewhere between $9 and $14 million in cap space as well. it's going to be a tough one. I think getting Bateman back, I'm a huge believer in Bateman. I think when Bateman's healthy, I think Bateman is a number one wide receiver. However, I would love to be able to bring in a 6'3" to 6'5" guy or someone like DeAndre Hopkins to come in as basically the X. Move Bateman to the Z and then move Duvernay, of course, more exclusively into the slot. And of course, Mark Andrews in that equation. You've got that's some serious firepower with Dobbins as well. Back to chat real quick. Peller, make sure and subscribe. I am good, bruh. I know. Penguin, it's so sad. I watch my view count go up and down. It's one of the most heartbreaking things, I feel like, streaming and all that. But so of course, if we have to exclusive franchise tag Lamar, basically same game plan, but of course we have to cut out Peters and Houston from those plans. Not a terrible cost, not truly what I want to do. I want to avoid having to go franchise tag, and then finally doing a deal with Lamar, basically. I hated it when I watched Kirk Cousins do it. I understand why you do it. You can make a lot of money, and of course, depending on your age and play, like both of them, instead of signing for $46 to $50 million a year, the quarterback market will be reset closer to $60 million a year. Which of course benefits you because now your long-term contract's not at $46 million a year, it's at like $60 million a year. So I understand it from a business sense. However, as a GM who's looking for that long-term plan, I don't want to go cap route. So with that being said, we have to truly talk about this Lamar situation. There's a lot on this screen, and some of the stuff on this screen might anger some Baltimore fans. But we talked about it. So again, the franchise tag is going to potentially cost us $43 to $40 million. Without a lot of change to the roster, we have $31.6 million available. With losing Peters and Houston and doing all the cap maneuvering that I have predicted in this video, Baltimore would also still have to create a little bit of cap space to do draft signings, and basically it would completely eliminate our ability to get into the free agent market. However, we talked about, I'm not really even that interested in this free agent market. This is going to be a good free agent market, but I think Baltimore has good depth at a lot of positions that we really wouldn't have to make much of a splash in the free agent market. However, with that being said, again, so if we cut Peters and we let Peters go, we let Houston go, we have enough to exclusive franchise tag Lamar. We are still going to struggle to find the $9 million to get DeAndre in here or get another big wide receiver in there. Of course, we have the route of going in the draft with that, which is going to be, of course, the number one option there. So with that being said, though, we also have to explore the idea of what if we can extend Lamar and we get a deal. So when I'm looking at that, they've been pushing so hard, and not just the writers, but even what I've seen from NFLPA. They again want Lamar's contract to be the bookend to Deshaun Watson's. So Deshaun Watson, not only is it fully guaranteed if you look at the deal, but so in 2022, the cap hit from the deal is $9 million. Oh, that's easy. Beautiful, wonderful deal. Who wouldn't want a franchise quarterback at $9 million a year? However, from next year, 2023, till 2026, every year it is a $54 million cap hit for the Cleveland Browns, which is a lot of money. And as we talked about, if Lamar signed a very similar deal, while maybe this year we can enter a really good window to win the Super Bowl, next year we're going to have some cap problems. So our 2024 cap space with no signings or none of my work, no signing absolutely zero of our 2023 free agents, as well as our zero of our 2024 free agents, we're predicted to have $84.4 million. Now, again, that's not including Lamar's contract. So basically, add Lamar's contract to that. $54 million because it would be in the second year window at that point in 2024, and you have approximately $30 million to work with. Again, we can't really keep Peters in that deal, so don't worry about that. Roquan's pay increase is going to go up $4.5 million, so you got to work that into that 2024 number. But again, at that point, Queens walks, Dobbin walks, Zeitler's gone. We have to address left guard. Houston, JPP are gone. Devin Duvernay's gone. We still have to address the wide receiver room. Madubuike's gone. Washington's gone. Edwards is gone. Drake is gone. Calais is gone. Chuck is gone. Tyler Huntley's gone. And at that point, again, to work anything into the deal, we would definitely have to address the Stanley and Humphrey contracts, which no one wants them gone from Baltimore. But their contracts are going to be huge at that point. Going back to chat. Penguin Goats, I'm going to leave okay later, Penguin. Thanks for dropping in, man. I truly appreciate it. I know basically I'm talking into a camera to nobody, but and my view, this will probably get no views as well, but we'll see. Kenneth Peller talking about bringing Richardson in as a QB. I mean, and see, we're going to have to address that. So as a GM, we talked a little bit about what we can do as a franchise tag. We talked about the extension. So the extension, again, if we got the $9 million cap hit this year, we might have, or for 2023, we might have some room to really do some things. We could probably bring in DeAndre and do a little bit. However, like I said, in 2024, we're going to kind of blow up a bit, and we're going to talk about here basically what the outlook is in both situations here. So we have to, and this is the part I'm probably going to get some hate on here from Baltimore fans. But I have to explore the option as the general manager of the Baltimore Ravens and Steve Biscotti's wishes. What happens if we have to tag and trade Lamar, basically? Because we can't work out. Because as a GM, we know the route it can go with the franchise tag. I'm telling you right now, I'm not willing to go that route as the GM of the Baltimore Ravens and the long-term look of the franchise. I'm not willing to go franchise tag deal. I'm sorry, but I need more commitment in the long term from a franchise quarterback. I love Lamar. Lamar, like I said, has number one potential in the league. So with that being said, and I'm going to scoot back here, from all the reading I've seen across the web, the trade value for Lamar basically starts at 2 to 3 first-round picks, a second, and a third. 3 first-round picks, a second, third, and maybe even some late-round picks or players, I'm not going to lie, is kind of enticing. Because as a GM, can you imagine getting 3 first-round picks and basically following the Philadelphia Eagles model of basically making sure you have 2 first-round picks every year, but basically having 2 first-round picks this year, including potentially a top 10 pick, which of course you can use to go get whatever quarterback you want. 2 first-round picks yet next year, 2 first-round picks in 2025, and again these other later round picks. You can't tell me as a GM that's not a little enticing. And the potential of, again, pairing your rookie quarterback from this year with a new head coach next year, which, of course, I wanted the new head coach this year, but whatever. So with that being said, though, we also want to look a little bit, where could Lamar land if we trade him? One of the hot picks recently has been the Atlanta Falcons, with London Drake, the big 6'5" wide receiver. I apologize, I forgot the halfback's name. As well as having Kyle Pitts at tight end. There's a lot of good weapons there, a lot of good young players, and I could see why it's been a hot pick, and we could get some good trade compensation there. The Las Vegas Raiders, and we talked about earlier, if Rodgers, or where Rodgers lands, is going to affect a lot of this, because we predicted he might end up in Las Vegas. But if Las Vegas misses out on if the Raiders miss out on Rodgers, Lamar would be a huge boost to that franchise and that brand new stadium that even Marlins, low key, I kind of want to go see it. Again, the Jets are part of this. However, we talked about I don't think Baltimore would really be willing to trade Lamar inside the AFC. So while it makes a lot of sense for Lamar, and the Jets might have the trade packages ready, I don't think it's going to happen. Sorry, I'm like feel my voice going. The Lions have, and we talked about a little bit. It could literally revive that entire franchise with the energy, and the Lions again have a pretty good young core on that team, and we saw the points they were able to put up this season. So sub in Lamar with that offense, you might be able to do some things. You know what I'm saying? And then of course the dark horses I've seen are the Panthers and the Commanders. I don't see them happening, but like I said, keep an eye out for them as dark horses. It would be hilarious. That would be like Kenneth said, they already have Flacco. Why they won't Lamar? It would be hilarious if Lamar got traded to the Jets and Flacco was his backup, and then Brady ended up at the 49ers with like Garoppolo backing him up. Like Chimera, I hate, and so Chimera said in chat, I really hope the Jets don't get a star quarterback. I don't need another playoff team in my division. So Chimera is a Bills fan for anyone that does drop in or hears this. But Chimera, I hate to break it to you, the Jets know they're kind of just like a QB away from being potentially really good. I think the Jets are going to be very aggressive in the free agency and trade market looking for a quarterback. I don't think they want to go the draft. I think they're looking to make some serious pushes and challenge the Bills. So with that being said, we got some areas to address in free agency, trade, and the draft. So with free agency trade, the free agent class is going to be pretty good. There's going to be some good defensive edge and defensive linemen. Going to be some good safeties. If we did the trade, like I said, it's going to cost us probably a third round pick and approximately $9 to $14 million in cap space for the Andres Hopkins trade. Gonna be hard, but we've talked a little bit about the cap in certain situations. It would work on a 1 year window, basically. However, after that, we might have some issues. With that, you also the free agency class, somewhere between like actually 5 and 9, but I said 7 and 9 here for just cost evaluation. So if we did everything again, not including the Lamar, we would have about $22.6 to $24.6 million in cap space, not including Lamar. If we franchise tag everything, again, DeAndre's not happening probably, unless we go over the cap like some teams do, which of course I don't see that happening because Baltimore is not a big fan of sacrificing the future for now. It's never been our mantra, and I don't expect that to change under Steve Biscotti. So it's one of those ones. Also, we could be aggressive in free agency, or we could start working out extensions for Washington, Madubuike, Queen, Dobbins, Duvernay, and everything else. So I'm going to go a really unpopular idea here, though. So please follow with me. Don't leave me yet. Don't hate me too much, flock. I'm going to go the idea of trading Lamar. So again, that cap space, I've kept the team almost identical. I'm going to trade Lamar for multiple first-round picks, second and thirds. So going into the offseason, I now have, even with my draft class predicted at $9 million for 2 first-round picks, I'm going to have somewhere between $22 and $24.6 million to extend 2024 free agents or go after free agents. So again, one of those ones with that 22.6 or 22.4 or 24 or 22 and $24 million, I could easily go get DeAndre Hopkins, no problem. Which might be huge. I could easily go get any star-studded defensive talent or offensive lineman to fill the left guard position. I could keep Ben Powers truly if I wanted to. There's a lot of different options. Also, with that $22 million, I would Can you imagine keeping Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen in Baltimore for the next 4 years together? You can't tell me that's not a little enticing, guys, after watching them fly around. Because again, on my plan here, we're not seeing a lot of change in this. The next year, our secondary would look like Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams. And again, on this number, $6 million, I don't have to trade Chuck Clark. So let's go on that. So next year, again, if again on this crazy scenario, my secondary is Chuck Clark, Kyle Hamilton, and Marcus Williams, with my corners being Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters. We still have our young guys in Jalen Armour Davis and oh my God, I'm so sorry, I forgot the other guy's name. We call him Pepe, last name Williams. But Pepe. We also have at that point Kyle Fuller coming back as well. So we have a star-studded secondary. We have Odafe Owe and oh my God, David Ojabo at outside linebacker with Justin Houston and Jason Pierre-Paul backing them up. We now have Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen signed for like 4 years in the middle at that point. We can also extend Duvernay, Matabike, and Washington at this point, or just at least like one of Matabike or Washington. Again, keeping that defense together for years now. And just at that point, again, so if I do this and I keep Chuck Clark, take $6 million from that $24 million, I still have $18 million. I could trade for DeAndre, pay him $9 million. I still have $9 million to work with in free agency. So $9 million to basically extend Dobbins. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about also, we have to talk about J.K. Dobbins as a 2024 free agent. So again, I could do the deal with Dobbins, do the deal with Queen, do the deal with Duvernay, and basically keep this team identical and bring in really good talent potentially with like $9 million. So again, our wide receiver room would look like Duvernay, DeAndre Hopkins, and Bateman while having another first round wide receiver coming in. That's scary. So in the draft, again, I changed the numbers from 5 to 9, but so if we're to have 2 first round picks, it's going to cost me $9 million. This is a very strong draft class. So again, if we trade Lamar, we're going to have 2 first round picks. I would love to pair a quarterback and a wide receiver, kind of like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, again, together for the next 4 or 5 years. Easy. At that point in the second round with multiple picks, I would love to get another edge defender to bring in behind, again, Owe, Ojabo, JPP, and Houston, and bring in a really good O-line talent to eventually fill in the left guard position. At that point, between the 3rd and 7th rounds, with, at that point, 5 to 8 round picks in those rounds, I'm going to add one inside linebacker to compete with Roquan and Queen, and also Ross. I was a huge fan of undrafted rookie free agent Ross from Michigan. Since I'm letting Kenyon Drake and Justice Hill go, we still have Dobbins and Edwards. I'm going to bring in a young running back through the draft. At that point, every other pick's going into depth at wide receiver, corner, and D-line, basically. And again, can you imagine this roster would be set for the next 4 to 5 years with a young rookie quarterback, first-round wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, Bateman, Duvernay, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Stanley sticking around, Zeitler sticking around. We're grooming Falele to be the next right tackle, but we can always use, again, next year, one of our 2 first-round picks on an offensive tackle, which, again, we can talk about Stanley then as well. It's just, as a GM, I love Lamar Jackson, and I think he has number 1 potential. But in the long-term look for the Baltimore Ravens, I can't help but think about trading him. And because we've seen there is a huge trend. There's 1 of 2 ways you go for a team. You either build through the draft and go long term, and basically you get a rookie quarterback on a cap friendly deal and you win a Super Bowl in that window. Or B, you have the established veteran quarterback that you're paying well, that's coming into the good team cap and situation and cap to enter a 3-year Super Bowl window. So, because here's the outlook, basically. So, Baltimore either signs Lamar to an extension, or does a franchise tag, and we basically enter a true 1-year absolute Super Bowl window. Which of course, I mean, that's the goal, is to win the Super Bowl, guys. Maybe it's a 2-year window, but I feel like it's a 1-year window. And we would have to absolutely nail every draft pick to keep the team going. Option B, we end up trading Lamar for, possibly 3 first-round picks, a second and a third. Baltimore, in my opinion, with a young rookie quarterback, more realistically a 4-year, but potentially a 5-year window. And again, I'm going to go ahead and go take a 6'5" wide receiver to put on the other side. At that point, dude, Bateman could work in the slot, which his route running savvy would do well. You could basically run 4 wides wide with DeAndre Hopkins, first round wide receiver, Bateman, Duvernay, and Mark Andrews. And my God, what coach or offensive coordinator could not just salivate a little bit at that prospect? Of course, no matter what, I kind of see Baltimore going with a wide receiver in the first round with our pick. But the question is going to be truly, I don't think a lot of those elite wide receivers that Baltimore wants will be available with our pick. And Baltimore only already having 5 draft picks is truly not going to have enough ammo to move up in the draft at that point to go get the wide receiver they probably really won't. So as, again, the GM of the Baltimore Ravens, with the long-term look for my franchise, I hate to say it, I'm probably going to go with option B and try to enter another 5-year window, 4 to 5-year window with a first-round QB. And again, because we talked about, we're keeping the team together, we're going to be able to also keep Queen and Roquan together for like 4 years. We're going to have a decent amount of cap space because the cap hits on the rookie deals aren't going to be that much. And then even after that great draft class and, probably a good year, I'd expect probably an early playoff exit, sadly. But the second year, I would have serious Super Bowl aspirations. And again, that would be a team that gets 2 more first-round picks added, or a first round with a ton of depth picks because you trade the second first-round pick for, some second and third, or third and some later year picks. It opens a lot of possibilities for the team building. But, I'm not the GM of the Baltimore Ravens. Who am I, guys? I'm lower than an armchair quarterback, right? But let me know, guys, what y'all think. What would you do? Because you have to realistically look at those cap numbers too, and the state of the franchise, not just this year, next year, but the following, and the long-term look at the franchise. And with that, I'm going to go back to chat here a little bit. The Bills are reportedly considering re-signing Jordan Poyer. Don't know how you feel about that. Jordan Poyer's on one of the top free agent lists. And like I talked about, this free agent for 2023 is supposed to be heavy in safety and defensive line, like edge. So, I mean, it might be one of those ones you might let him go for the comp pick and, try to draft for it. This is going to be a really good draft. Do you feel like Kenneth asked, do you feel the Ravens can still be contenders in the AFC North without Lamar? Absolutely, Kenneth. We were right there with Tyler Huntley, and I think Tyler Huntley has had an outstanding short game. I think Tyler, when he had the concussion, I don't know what happened, but his play dropped. So I don't think Huntley was feeling that good, and I think maybe the extra time for, till the Pro Bowl made him, a little better. So without Lamar, absolutely. And of course, I would love to see Harbaugh go, and I'm so happy to see Giro go. The problem is, no matter who we bring in as offensive coordinator, even if they do well, they will leave because they're not going to be the head coach. But I absolutely think, and again, can you imagine Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith for the next 4 years roaming the AFC North and attacking Joe Burrow? I think even Joe Burrow would be like, man, why, guys? Why? Especially if Ojabo and Oweh truly take a step up next year, Baltimore could potentially, for the next 4 to 5 years, have the number 1 linebacking core in the NFL, hands down. And as the defensive stalwart that we have been, that's, again, kind of hard to. Kenneth, the rivalry between the Pittsburgh and the Ravens going to continue with? Yes, it will, and I want it to. I've been very vocal about this on the channel. I've always said iron sharpens iron. I think the Ravens are at their best when Pittsburgh and Cincinnati is at their best. So it's one of those ones. Of course, I want to always, 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 always beat Pittsburgh. But I want Pittsburgh to be a good team, and I think potentially next year they might have a lot of potential. And of course, Cincinnati is going to be a stalwart for a while. They're going to have a little turnover at wide receiver with the Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins situation. There's a small chance T. Higgins could come to Baltimore. I highly doubt it, but there is a chance that could happen. So with that being said, guys, that's would be my plan if I was the GM of the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not going to go into depth who I would pick in the draft. Hopefully we'll save that for another video when I do some draft analysis here, which I've been talking about for a while. Because we're going to go heavy into the free agency, but we're going to do free agency, I think, a little closer to like after franchise tag timeline and everything. But the draft, of course, everyone's already announced basically that we've already exited the announcement window. So at least for the draft, I do know who's available, or going to be available. So I'm trying to get into some draft stuff here soon. We just had a lot of stuff going on work-wise here in the area, and other projects that I'm working on. Sadly, though, as much as I love Lamar, and I think Lamar, again, is a potential #1 quarterback in the NFL, I think with Harbaugh and everything that we've done, we've kind of backed ourselves into a corner a little bit. And I think long term for the franchise, I think it works better if Lamar goes somewhere else. And I mean, given the correct situation, it might work out for Lamar as well. I don't wish anything ill upon Lamar. We only wish Lamar the best. But of course, it's something also we talked about. What if Lamar was the one that needed surgery? That could drastically affect potentially the negotiations that are going on, because missing like 6 games in back-to-back seasons, as well as potentially already showing that, hey, he might because when we did the video talking about the grade of the sprain for the injury of Lamar, it could be a borderline tear. And of course, as we talked about and we cited our sources there, you don't necessarily have to have surgery, but for long-term longevity in the NFL, it might be a good idea, especially if it was a borderline almost grade 3 sprain. How about after the Super Bowl? For what? Free agents or what, Kenneth? And we're talking about chat here a little bit. I'm also trying to record these guys because we're trying to also start uploading to a podcast as well. So that's why I'm also trying to treat these in a more talk-like show perspective and make sure I'm shouting out and when I'm going to chat. We're trying everything here, guys. We're trying. I'm actually in the process of negotiating a contract. If everything goes well, I will make enough money to basically throw this PC in the trash completely and rebuild hopefully like a $3,000 or $4,000 custom built PC. Which at that point, guys, we will finally get some quality here on the stream. Hopefully we'll be a little more dedicated, and also we can add gaming to the channel as well. Draft picks. Oh, Kenneth, I am trying. Kenneth from chat asking about after the Super Bowl, talking about draft picks. I honestly was trying to cover all 254 potential prospects in the NFL draft. I want to go that deep. I started doing a video a long time ago. I was live talking about free agency and draft a while ago, and I literally hit a blue screen of death because I had so many videos and tabs open on my PC. And for Ken, if you're new here, my PC is like 10 generations old. I literally hit a blue screen of death, guys, the other day playing Stardew Valley with my girlfriend. Let's put it that way. That's how hard my PC is having it right now. So hopefully we're going to get a rebuild here soon, upgrade the PC, and we'll be able to do a lot more here on the channel. Um, Fingers crossed, like I said, I'm in contract negotiations with a client right now. But so going back to chat here, Chimera, Bills should let Poyer go. The Bills should let Poyer go, let Tremaine Edmonds go, sign a wide receiver in free agency, draft offensive line in first and second rounds, and draft safely later and let McDermott develop him. I kind of agree. And so Chimera, see, here's the thing. You might also have to let Von Miller go. I don't know about the cap savings. And again, I promise Chimera, I plan to do the videos. I know, oh my gosh, who is my other? Penguin. Penguin wants me to do the Green Bay Packers. I have not forgotten. I just, I got behind this weekend with everything with work and the girlfriend. So I still am planning on doing basically, I don't know if you would enjoy it, Chimera, but I'm really trying to do basically this exact style video that I did today, but for your Buffalo Bills as well as the Green Bay Packers. Because y'all have been so faithful, and I do want to cover more NFL content, and I hope that by maybe doing this and those other videos, that maybe I can show and establish my knowledge and my thought process, and maybe some people will like it. Of course, when I do the Green Bay Packers for Penguin, we're definitely going to be tagging Grossi to see if we can get Grossi to come give us a view. And Chimera, dude, I'm going to be trying, like I said, I do want to do some gaming, and hopefully I'll be able to, because like case in point, the most my PC can even play right now is like League of Legends and Stardew Valley. While my friend who's wants to get into streaming as well is over there playing Escape from Tarkov, which, of course, if I have a brand new PC, Escape from Tarkov might be a thing. I'm also trying to get a VR setup to do the NFL game where from the quarterback perspective in VR, and a few other games as well. Kenneth, now Lamar to Tampa could be another dark horse, honestly. Earlier in the season, Kenneth, I actually talked about the potential of if Tua didn't play well, like if Tua tanked at the beginning of the season. I talked about, man, if Tua tanks and doesn't play well, Lamar is going to be traded to Miami. And of course, Lamar even, I think, liked a tweet at that point of talking about him going to Miami. Because I live down here really close to Miami at this time. And, he's loved here. This is his hometown, basically. He would love to play here. You know what I'm saying? Some of his best games actually have come in that stadium. But, especially at the beginning of this season. But, so they're a dark horse. However, of course, they would have to clear the cap from him. And the thing is, they would have to let some other guys go. They would lose some offensive linemen as well. But they're a dark horse, just like the Panthers and the Washington Commanders. I could consider Tampa Bay a dark horse for Lamar. Chimera, Fortnite, and Minecraft. So Chimera, I've always wanted to kind of get it more into Minecraft. You know, case in point, I play Stardew Valley. I don't truly mind pixelated games, and from my understanding, what you can build in Minecraft now is absolutely crazy. So it's one of those ones. Minecraft, I'm not, opposed to, but I feel like I would need more direction on what I would be doing in Minecraft. Case in point, when I first started really streaming on Twitch, I had a friend, and he was like, "Hey, let's stream together, man. Let's do this. I want to play this game for like the next month or year." And we were playing Ark Survival Evolved, which I love Ark. I'm so excited for the next Ark game, and that's one I would love to stream as well. I actually would love to stream the new Harry Potter game as well. That's I believe pre-access just launched. I think it's an awesome game by Xbox Studios, and if you're a gamer, and I know we're going a little off football here in the questions and everything, but I like to talk everything, and questions are always good in this channel. I wish I had more viewers to ask questions. Xbox Studios, basically, this is going to be one of their first large releases, and they've hinted at a Star Wars remake of Knights of the Old Republic. With that being said, pay very careful attention to the Hogwarts Legacy game that's coming out, because I feel like the engine and the world will be a precipice for the next Star Wars game that we're going to see from that exact studio as well. Fortnite, I actually still do play a little bit, Chimera. I play no build mode because I'm an old man and I despise the building in Fortnite. I despise it. But I play a little bit. I sadly can't play on my PC. That's how broke my PC is, guys. I cannot even play Fortnite on the lowest graphic settings on my PC. I kind of can, but like the moment I get close to anyone and it tries to render more of the character, I start like freezing up, lagging. It's crazy. So if I had a better seat, I would absolutely stream some Fortnite, Chimera. Back to chat. Kenneth, I can't see Lamar in the Cowboys. No, I don't see Cowboys happening at all. They're pretty committed to Dak. I was a little surprised by the Kellen Moore and Nussmeiser moves where they just chose not to retain them. That speaks loads right there about what they think about those two. But it is the Cowboys organization, so you know. Um, like I said, Lamar, I think there's a high possibility he could end up in Atlanta. I think Atlanta's going to be make a push for him. I could totally see it. The owner of the Atlanta Falcons really loved Michael Vick and was behind him, and of course, there's always been the comparisons there. And I think the Atlanta community would absolutely love Lamar Jackson. Bro, you lying right now. Unless I missed that coming across. Let me think here. Yeah, you lying, Kenneth. Kenneth and Chaz said they let Dak Prescott go. You trying to get me over here? Um, what about Riddle? I just saw it on Ingram. No way, bro. Ingram, bro, don't tell me Ingram like I'm on NFL.com. Ain't no way. I'm about to go check Ingram's video now. You got me so curious now, Kenneth. Like, oh, they should let him go. Okay, okay. I see what you're saying. Nah, I don't see it. And of course they just I don't see it on his thing. I think Dak actually is I wasn't sure on Dak, and then I watched the first game of the season, that shootout, and then I got to watch Dak throw a little more, and I was like, man, Dak makes some throws, man. I think that's just a classic Cowboys coaching not getting out of their own way. I think they made some bozo calls sometimes in their play calling succession, or the way they called the plays. So I think Dak's staying right where he's at. I don't see Dak going anywhere for a while. Oh, you mean not Riddle, Redder. Redder out of Cincinnati, if I'm not mistaken. I actually talked about that in the pre-Atlanta game. I think he's actually a pretty good quarterback. But it's one of those ones, do you wait for him to develop? Yeah, Desmond Ritter. Ritter is his name. Ritter showed some qualities. However, Ritter, even when he came out in the draft, his qualities was he was pretty accurate. However, he didn't truly show big arm potential. When we played him, Ritter, in my opinion, did look pretty good. I've told Atlanta Falcon fans, Atlanta has a lot to look forward to. Ritter has some good potential. Having Drake London, the 6'5" wide receiver, Kyle Pitts, the amazing tight end, their like 26-year-old halfback who's really good as well. and they're going to have a lot of cap space. They could have a lot to look forward to, but that's also why Lamar could be in that conversation, because you could bring Lamar in, have Ritter as the backup who showed really good potential. That's like Lamar and Tyler Huntley, in my opinion. Like, that's a younger Tyler Huntley with, maybe a higher upside than Huntley potentially. So it's one of those ones he could stay there because he was only a second round pick. So cap wise, he's not hitting Atlanta's cap hard, no more than a backup quarterback should be. Or they could take Lamar and move Ritter for possibly that second round pick back, which of course again puts them in a great situation. Oh yeah, and until this year, Chimera says Dak Prescott was easily the best quarterback in the division, in his division before this year, and absolutely, Jalen Hurts took the step. I mean, coaching wise, he's got great coaches. The GM has brought in great talent. Philadelphia is an example of an organization doing everything right, in my opinion. The next 4 years for them is going to be interesting because, of course, Jalen Hurts is going to get his contract extension. And so that's another big thing is what if Lamar gets franchise tag, Jalen's extension's coming up. How is the NFLPA going to push Jalen to be the bookmark instead of Lamar? There's a lot that could go into that. I just want to win a Super Bowl for Calais Campbell. Can we put that on record? Like, Chimera. I see your Discord message. And Chimera, I am totally down for that, by the way, for the Super Bowl. Definitely. I have, like I said, a small channel, and I'll make sure to invite you to the channel. But yeah, man, if you want to hop in for the Super Bowl, you're more than welcome to. I'm actually, I don't know if you're interested, Chimera, as well. I'm trying to do more people for the draft as well. Like, I'm trying to get like 4 to 8 people in for our draft coverage when we do the live draft coverage. Basically, just to sit there, kind of, excuse my language, shoot this shit and just relax, metaphorically for some of us, have a beer and just talk draft football picks, And I'm trying to get a little bit of everyone's teams. So you would be the Bills. Of course, I have a Packers fan who came in with me last year. He would come back. Of course, I'm sure Penguin would love to come in. I don't know if Kenneth would love to come in, but no matter what, I'm welcome to having more people in as long as basically we click the like button that we agree to, like basically terms of service agreements. Don't talk about certain things or do certain things or violations, kind of thing. But yeah, I'm 100% down for that. And Chimera says I'm legitimately scared of what Dak could do with some good coaching. I agree, Chimera. If the organization was better, coaching and GM, I feel like just a little, you would see what's going on in Philadelphia right now, in my opinion. Like, good for you, Kenneth. Kenneth says he's 30 years clean on drinking. Good for you, my guy. Drinking is bad, to be honest. I do it a little bit here and there, more so to loosen up sometimes, and because sometimes just talking into a camera or into the nothingness can be a little difficult. But I've had some issues like liver wise, so I limit my drinking heavily. No more ever than 3 glasses, basically. And yeah, that's why I was saying Chimera, 3 years until Chimera is 21. That's why I'm saying metaphorically drink a beer. Basically, just relax, have a relaxed setting where we're all just able to freely chat and talk about everything and all of that. And what I might be doing during the draft is like basically trying to pull draft video, like, highlight videos. So not only, of course, do we have the draft, but also, I might have some videos here on YouTube where we, play a little bit of the actual, like, video and stuff. I think that we're about to see so much going down. And of course, one of the big headlines we're heading here for Baltimore, guys, is going to be also the I want to look here, franchise tag window timeline, I should say. So we have from February 21st. Basically, from February 21st to March 7th is going to be our big window. Whether watching what tag to start with Lamar gets placed with. We're expecting the exclusive franchise tag, basically meaning that no one can negotiate with Lamar. Because if we put, the regular franchise tag, I believe that the trade compensation could be only like one first round pick or something like that, or like he could negotiate with other teams. So it's one of those ones. That tag is going to tell us a lot about what the plan is for Lamar. I'm sure the Ravens are literally, and we talked about it during the live press conference. There was actually a lot of good, little tidbits and hidden things in that press conference from John Harbaugh and EDC regarding the contracts of Lamar. I can't be calling Lamar every day. Let's get this deal done. They threw shade when they talked about Roquan and Mark Andrews, how like they kind of represent themselves. They got the deal with Roquan done, and Mark Andrews, they were like, how long did it take? Oh, it took us 3 days to make Mark Andrew one of the highest paid tight ends in the NFL with a more than fair contract. So there was a lot of shade actually thrown at that press conference, in my opinion, and that's why I also truly entertain the idea of trading Lamar because I feel like it could happen. Kenneth, hopefully they get an offensive coordinator and deal for Lamar. Kenneth, hopefully they do. I don't have a lot of faith in John Harbaugh to make the correct decision regarding the offensive coordinator. As we talked about, I'm expecting a Harbaugh hire. But it's one of those ones like we talked about. Let's say we bring in the right offensive coordinator and we keep Lamar and we go on to win the Super Bowl like we all want to do. Do you truly think whoever the offensive coordinator for Lamar is not going to get a chance at a head coaching position and probably going to leave? And then we're going to be back in this boat that we've been in year after year trying to find the right offensive coordinator or right offensive system for Baltimore, which what we talked about in my videos. I am a huge critic of John Harbaugh, and I want a coach that is going to give us a long-term defined offensive system that also is ingenuity enough to be able to tweak the system year from year as needed. But we'll see. Uh, Chimera, please trade Lamar to NFC. 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 So Chimera, our Bills fan, does not want Lamar, of course, in the AFC, let alone in the AFC East, like case in point on the Eagles. I mean, not the Eagles, the Jets, I'm sorry. And like I said, I fully expect if the deal does go down for Lamar to be traded, I 100% expect the deal to go to the NFC. So Chimera, you might get your wish. Chimera says, I want Allen to rule the AFC. Chimera, I have bad news for you, my guy. Even if we trade Lamar, Baltimore is coming for that AFC title, my guy. And again, like we just talked about, Chimera, if we got a rookie quarterback even, how stacked our roster is going to be, it don't even matter. Case in point, if we got DeAndre Hopkins, a 6'5 first round pick, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, and Devin Duvernay running 5 wide, and with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards running over people for the next 3 years, you can't tell me we ain't always gonna be in the chase. And again, Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen roaming the inside, and possibly David Ojabo and Owe roaming on linebackers. You can't tell me we're not gonna be in contention. So whether Lamar stays in the AFC or not, Chimera, we coming for y'all. So be ready. Kenneth, Harbum is garbage. He should have been gone if Lamar didn't speak up for him. And I truly think so. I'm on the believers, Kenneth. I think his job was saved by Lamar. I 100% believe his job was saved by Lamar. And it's been a trend in the NFL for a long time to pair a rookie quarterback with a new head coach. Taylor and Burrow, Dermick and Allen. I mean, dude, it goes back. We started the trend a long time ago. I mean, actually, it was started before us because we copied the trend back in 2008 when we took Joe Flacco and brought on Harbaugh. When Matt Ryan came on, what was it, Mike Smith, I think. They usually, a lot of owners and GMs like pairing the two together. Because, like, if one's failing, you're probably getting rid of the other. So it works really well, and it's good for locker room changes, especially if you do need to change the culture. Nah, Buffalo all the way. Chimera says, nah, Buffalo all the way this time. Chimera, I told you, man, I love your Bills, but this was your true shot. You're going to be over the cap, especially with your Von Miller contract, that the point you might have to let Von go. You're going to have to either go over the cap again potentially this year, or you're going to have to let Von go and get a little thrifty with some of your moves, But, I'm rooting for you till you play my Baltimore Ravens. And then all cards on the table, just like this guy said, Chimera. Nah, man, Ravens flock all the way. No matter what, we go into Super Bowl next year. I don't even care if it's a rookie quarterback. I got that much faith. I feel like the Ravens defense will be inspired by the documentary even more so. If we had a rookie quarterback and everything, be like, no, we can be the bullies of Baltimore and be Roquan and Patrick Queen come out with Odafe Owe, Ojabo, Broderick Washington, Justin Madubuike, bringing back Calais Campbell, bringing back Brent Urban, drafting some young defensive linemen, and not only bringing back Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Fuller, and all our safeties, including Chuck Clark, but also bringing in some draft talent there. Nah, bro. Nah. We can still go to the Super Bowl with a rookie quarterback. That's my belief. Oh. I wish I had more viewers to do more questions. Tomorrow, though, Chimera, my goal is going to be basically doing this style of video with the Buffalo Bills, hopefully somewhere around the same time. And then, of course, I'm going to follow that up potentially with same style video for the Green Bay Packers. The odds of the Ravens going to chat here. The odds of the Ravens going to the Super Bowl are the same as the Bills winning more than 11 games next year. 0. Bro, you out of here, Chimera. You out of here. So with Lamar Jackson, like we said, there's always the potential. Even though he hasn't played up to that potential, in my opinion, and he's missed 6 games like in back-to-back years, Lamar has the potential to carry any team to the Super Bowl. And like I said, I'm confident if we did end up trading him, that the roster we could build around a young rookie quarterback, it'd be almost impossible to succeed. We were one step away with Tyler Huntley, and I would basically be bringing back the same exact defense and adding more to it. Son, you ain't ready. I'm going to have Poe dancing on the Bills logo. Oh, without Lamar? No, I'm telling you, man. We go to the playoffs. We have a chance at the Super Bowl. Chance. I'm not going to lie. It would be hard to get past KC again. But I don't want to be a bad guy, but I feel like Mahomes is due for an injury soon. But here's the thing. What if Lamar misses 6 games again? Are we the easy number 1 seed? And again, if we did the deal with Lamar, we would enter a 1-year window for a Super Bowl, in my opinion. Maybe 2 years, but with cap space problems and everything, maybe a 1-year window. And again, it's going to be all on Lamar, and you cannot have him running. You cannot risk that injury. Because missing all that time has been killer for us. I'll make this bold of a prediction. Even if we traded Lamar Jackson, I think the Ravens, and again, kind of following everything that I talked about here in the video, if EDC followed my video to the T and traded Lamar, I still think my Ravens finish number 1 in the AFC North. Let's put it that way. I think easy contention for the AFC Championship. Going to be hard to get past Allen and Mahomes, but, depending on the rookie quarterback play, you never know, man. We're still looking for that rookie to go to the Super Bowl, right? Kenneth said Lamar beat Mahomes twice. And then Chimera said Juju danced on the Bills logo. Look what happened to him. You're not wrong, though. That's a level of disrespect you don't go to. You know what I'm saying? Like, whoever all my viewers are, drop it in. Thanks for dropping in, guys. Let me know if you're Raven Flock or who your team is. We're kind of at the end of this video here, but we're kind of just answering questions and talking in general. So if you've got a question or anything, no, that's what I'm saying, Kenneth. Even if we trade Lamar and we have a rookie quarterback, if you followed my blueprint and brought all those people back and brought in all the signings and had the cap space still to even play more, I think that defense alone with McDonald, yeah, I think we could still stay in the AFC North contention and possibly win the AFC North. I think Baltimore has that good of a roster, which is also why we talked about, if we get the deal done with Lamar, we enter a 1-year window where probably the first year of that deal is pretty cap friendly. However, every year after that becomes kind of an issue, especially like if you go with the Deshaun Watson contract, a $54 million cap hit. After that 1-year window, you would have to blow this roster apart and absolutely nail every draft pick. So it's one of those ones. I think we have such a great roster with Tyler Huntley, where we were basically always in contention of those games. Pair a young, good rookie quarterback and bring this team back better. Like again, Kenneth, take any of the top 4 rookie quarterbacks in this draft. Take any 4 of them and plug them into Baltimore. Now give them DeAndre Hopkins lining up on one side as the X. Give them a 6'5", one of the top, 15 potentially wide receivers in this draft, one of those 6'5" guys on the outside as the Z. Bateman's your slot guy, basically, or subbing out with the rookie. And Devin Duvernay can also work in the slot with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, J.K. Dobbins, and Gus Edwards, because, again, we're extending them. At that point, you can't tell me Huntley or a really promising top 10 rookie quarterback couldn't put up some numbers. Again, with a good offensive coordinator, not Greg Roman. Now, on the flip side again, that defense, the secondary is untouched and only brings back Kyle Fuller with more draft talent while developing Jalen Armour Davis and Pepe Williams. On top of that, again, adding more talent in the draft and potentially making maybe one splash in free agency at approximately $5 to $9 million average for maybe a D lineman or maybe another corner. But I would prefer a D lineman that adds also really good pass rushing potential. That offense and that defense, no matter what, are going to be able to put up points and stop people. And that's why I said, even if Lamar is traded from Baltimore, I still can see Baltimore taking the AFC North. And here's the thing. So that's the first year. We got DeAndre. We got all this. The next year, again, we're kind of not in a bad cap situation. All of that stays while still adding 2 more first-round picks potentially and a good draft. Holy crap. That team, that's a Super Bowl team. And that's a Super Bowl team for 2 to 3 more years before you have to start dealing with some serious contract issues. And that's all I'm saying with that, All right, back to chat here. Kenneth, so if we end up, Kenneth says, come on, man, ain't no way we get D-Hop. Be realistic. So, like we talked about, with franchise tagging, no way. With an extension of Lamar, that first year is going to be cap friendly. We enter a 1-year window where we could take DeAndre Hopkins' contract. So there's potential if we did everything we talked about in this video. But the problem is if we don't trade Lamar, we only have 5 draft picks. With 5 draft picks, we're not getting rid of more draft picks unless we pick up a good bit. But if we trade Lamar, we're picking up potentially 3 first-round picks, a second and third. That third-round pick is turned into DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre's salary is going to, for cap hit for us, would be like $9 and $14 million. That's manageable at that point, again, with all that money freed up. And we worked that into it earlier. We worked that money into it. Plus, we also worked the $9 million needed to sign our draft class. So DeAndre, with franchise tag, not happening. With extension, he's coming to Baltimore for 1 year and maybe longer if he is willing to restructure his deal. He's got weird clauses in his contract for 2024. If we trade Lamar, again, absolutely there is a huge chance Baltimore would have the cap space and the draft capital to go get him. And again, you can't tell me you're not setting up your rookie quarterback for success at that point. Lamar would be really mad because he'd be like, why couldn't I have that? But it's also because the cap situation, what he's wanting in contract, and a few other things. Back to chat here. If Ravens keep Lamar, my Super Bowl, what's that 58 prediction is Ravens beat Cowboys. Chimera, I hate to be this person. I might be unpopular. I think Philadelphia repeats. I think Philadelphia is going back to the Super Bowl next year. I think the Super Bowl might be their year next year because I think they're going to bring in some really good draft talent again this year, and they're pretty stacked. Of course, I see my Ravens in the Super Bowl next year, but I think it's going to be against the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think we're going to have potentially either Lamar or our first ever rookie quarterback in the Super Bowl. Kenneth says, what makes you think the Cowboys are going to get to the Super Bowl? And that's what I'm saying. Don't be wrong, they're good, but there's been some controversy with CeeDee Lamb. They're having a big change in their offensive staff with between the Kellen Moore and Nussmeiser letting them walk. So, I mean, we might see the Cowboys take another step offensively, but to be realistic, there's also a small chance that they regress next year. Of course, draft and free agency is going to be a big thing. I'm not absolutely sure on the Cowboys cap space situation for next year. They're not on my list of analysis videos, but I don't think they're like flush in cap space. Kenneth says, and if Mahomes wins, then what? See, I think Mahomes is going to win this year, but I think after this year, they're going to start having a little more cap problems and having to deal with some things. But I also have faith in that organization, in the Chiefs organization, that is, to kind of continue what they have been doing. Mahomes is there for like 10 years at this point on that contract. So as long as Mahomes is doing Mahomes, they're going to be a pretty competitive team. However, like I talked about, if we ended up making this trade and trading Lamar, our defense, we could potentially actually keep Patrick Queen in Baltimore and pair Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith up for the next 4 years in the middle with Odafe Owe and David Ojabo on the outside, which again, like I said, I think gives Baltimore the best linebacking core for potentially the next 4 years. You know what I'm saying? So, and again, that type of linebacking core and again, we could at that point probably keep, we would have Jones developing. We would probably sign Broderick Washington or Matabike to an extension. So keeping them while again adding, because that's one of my number one lists for second round is a defensive rusher or defensive lineman that can rush. Just like we talked about possibly making the small splash in free agency if we trade Lamar, we would have that money to do some stuff, or potentially for a 1 year Super Bowl run, make a defensive splash for 1 year. So it's just one of those ones, even if, the Chiefs win the Super Bowl and, of course, continue doing what they're doing, I have that much faith in Baltimore. And again, I have this weird feeling Baltimore's defense is going to be so inspired by that documentary next year and not getting to the Super Bowl for Jalen and Saragusa. Because, Jalen Ferguson passed this year, and then also Saragusa passed this year, the Goose. But I think that Baltimore is really going to want to get there next year, and especially because we're going to bring Calais back. And I wanted the Super Bowl for Calais to start with. So, again, with a rookie quarterback, I think Baltimore still stays insanely competitive because the team that they would be able to build around that young rookie quarterback. And again, it's one of those ones. Can you imagine also if Tyler Huntley ends up leaving in restricted free agency, gets a second round tender, someone's willing to, give Baltimore the pick? That's another quarterback. So again, let's say we did the deal with Atlanta. maybe as part of the trade, we get Ritter. So all of a sudden now we have Ritter, possibly Huntley. We could possibly get Huntley traded as well. But, Ritter, Huntley, and a first round pick to compete, that's again a pretty good situation to go into the season, you know. Oh, we got a new chatter. Thanks for dropping in. I don't know if you subscribed. I had to kill my event box. Um, let's see. We got Be More Ravens Gunny back in the chat. Hey, pick two: Addison USC, Josh Downs UNC, Jalen Wyatt Tennessee. Mark. Ooh, that's tough. Oh. Hold on. Give me 1 second, Gunny. That's a very interesting question. Like, hmm. I want to just double check a few things here. Oh, it depends, Gunny, a little bit on which route we end up going. Because I'm sorry you're coming into the end of this video, and we're just doing like a little general discussion and talking, taking questions. Um, Addison's really good. He's a 6 foot wide receiver, kind of like Bateman. I like him, but I kind of want someone bigger. Downs, I believe, wide receiver from UNC. With that being said, I think I would go weirdly Wyatt Mims, which is, I think, DB wide receiver. I think that gives great depth, and we got to bring, even though I have a lot of faith in Jalen Armour Davis and Pepe Williams developing from this past year, and they showed flashes here and there. I think bringing in another guy, and of course, we talked about in my plan, we re-signed Peters and we re-signed Fuller. So bringing in another good young DB would again take our secondary to another level. Jalen Hyatt, yeah. Hyatt, sorry, my apologies. Uh, and it's one of those ones again. If we ended up, God forbid, trading Lamar Jackson, again, we could keep this roster together, add more, and truly, because we talked about here earlier in the video, if we end up, God forbid, trading Lamar, we would have 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and possibly 2 third-round picks. First-round picks are QB, wide receiver. They're paired together for the next 5 years. We have a game plan now for the next 5 years. Second round, I want to add another O-line that could possibly take over at tackle or a really good guard prospect. While the second pick, I want a defensive lineman or edge rusher that can provide some good pass rush, basically. A defensive end, defensive lineman. And that's what I thought. When I looked up one of them, I think the name I looked up was a DB. Because I was sitting there thinking about that, and I was like, okay, yeah, he's 6'2". Yeah, I looked up the wrong one. See, Addison, from what I understand, I haven't, and Baltimore, Gunny, please come back. I'm going to be doing a lot of draft coverage soon. I've got this style of video I have to do about the Bills and about the Packers. But after that, we're going to be heading into a lot of draft coverage soon. So please come back for that. Addison, from my understanding, is a really good route runner, really big comparisons to Bateman. With that being said, I kind of lean towards Hyatt and Mims still a little. I actually have met the University of Tennessee before, way before Hyatt played there. But just in my opinion, like, it's just there's too much potential. Because Baltimore Gunny, I know you weren't here, but like for example, in this situation that I trade Lamar and I do everything that I want to do in Baltimore, I would be drafting a first round wide receiver. I would be drafting a first round quarterback, of course, as well to replace Lamar. I would still be bringing in DeAndre Hopkins. So we would have, for example, We could have Jalen Hyatt on one side, Rashad Bateman working in and out with him and possibly in the slot. DeAndre Hopkins on the outside, Devin Duvernay working the slot, and Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely being able to freely roam and create mismatches. And Gunny, whether we have Lamar or not, you got to admit that's pretty scary. Like, Chimera says Eagles blow it somehow. Giants aren't there yet. 49ers are going to get all their core injured by week 4, and the Vikings are the Vikings. I agree, Chimera. I think the Eagles, though, are going to be back there next year. I think they're just so deep. The 49ers, I don't know, man. Clearing Trey Lance and Garoppolo's cap numbers off of that and moving forward with someone like Purdy is pretty enticing for the 49ers because then they can build a really great roster around Purdy. There's also the option, again, what if instead of like the Las Vegas Raiders acquiring Aaron Rodgers, what if, because that's one of the dark horses for Aaron Rodgers is the Las Vegas Raiders, but what if the 49ers made the trade for Aaron Rodgers? Because he does love California, so he would love to go West Coast, I feel like. And I think that's where we're going to see Aaron Rodgers go. So can you imagine the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey with Aaron Rodgers? Oh my God, I forgot the wide receiver's name. Oh my God, Samuel. The 49ers could build a pretty good roster around Aaron Rodgers, and it could be pretty scary with a good draft class. Be more gunny. I can see that solid choice. Also, yet the hypothetical from LJ8 picks, and that's what I'm saying. As the title of this video, as the GM of the Baltimore Ravens, from my understanding, the current cost for Lamar would be at least 2 to 3 first-round picks, a second and a third, because we talked about it earlier in the video here, if we tag Lamar, and I'm telling you this right now, I don't want to go the tag situation. Absolutely. If Lamar is going to force my hand to go tag, I'm going to trade him. If we can work it out an extension, that's great. But like I said, Baltimore, in my opinion, because on the Deshaun Watson contract, Deshaun Watson's cap hit this past year, 2022, was $9 million, which is nothing. That's great. However, after that, from 2022 to 2026, the cap hit for Deshaun Watson is $54 million. Meaning, if we sign Lamar to an extension, we enter a 1 to 2 year real Super Bowl window without having to do a lot of work, which, of course, is the goal to win a Super Bowl. However, as a GM, Biscotti is not really about, as our owner, he's really not about sacrificing the future for a short term. Like, as a lot of teams are going over the cap and, having to take a penalty for the next year or the rollover and all that, Biscotti's not of that mindset. So you could enter a 1 to 2 year Super Bowl window with Lamar and signing him to extension before you have to really rework that roster. And like I said, you can still be in a Super Bowl window, but you have to nail every draft pick. Or you could turn around and enter another 5-year window with a young quarterback and all of a sudden with a insanely well-built team and 2 first-round picks for 3 years straight, you could enter a very prime, like 4 to 5 year Super Bowl window. Which at that point, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Which as a GM looking at a long-term prospect for my team, like you said, is a little enticing. You can't deny that. Be more gunning. So who is the most realistic trade partner? So actually, we covered this. Hold on, let me pull this back up real quick then. So we talked about that, actually. So when we talked about Lamar's trade value, the hot picks where Lamar could land, Atlanta is a really hot pick. I think the fan base would love Lamar. I think the owner would love Lamar. He's kind of hinted about wanting Lamar. They already have Drake London, the 6'5" wide receiver. They have a good young halfback, and then Kyle Pitts, the star-studded tight end coming back from injury. There's a lot of good young weapons, and Atlanta's going to have a good amount of cap space this year. So Atlanta could be a very hot pick for Lamar. Las Vegas is on that list as well. The Raiders, again with that brand new stadium. Even Marlon Humphrey was like, "Man, I wouldn't mind playing there." But I think as we say right here, Aaron Rodgers is going to play, I feel like, heavily into the Las Vegas Raiders. The Jets are another prime spot. A lot of talent, basically just a quarterback away from being able to really make a Super Bowl run. However, as we say right here, Baltimore, very unlikely, I feel like, to trade Lamar inside the conference. So more than likely head into the NFC. Another one we talked about here. No. You're fine, B. Morgani. We're in basically Q&A at this point, so I don't mind going back to talk about some of this stuff. The Lions are another big one because, they were able to stay competitive and put up a lot of points this year with an average quarterback. So, and that's another one where we talk about Lamar has the ability to revitalize and bring a lot of energy to the fan base, ticket sales, and merchandise sales. So if I'm the owner of the Lions, I am salivating at the chance to get Lamar Jackson over in Detroit with a lot of that young talent that they have over there. Um, and so again, that one would kind of make a lot of sense. My dark horses are going to be the Panthers and Commanders. I don't think they really want Lamar, but at the same time, like we said, Lamar can really turn around an entire franchise, which of course the Commanders need no more than anybody else in the NFL. And the Panthers have kind of been searching for a quarterback for a while. Um, and it's one of those ones, there's going to be someone that's all of these teams I can see are desperate enough to figure out their quarterback situation that they'd be willing to give Lamar potentially that bookend, fully guaranteed contract in the NFL. I really could see it happening on any of these teams. So for that reason, Gunny, these are going to be my 6 quick picks for where Lamar lands. And a lot of these teams do have the draft capital, or like case in point, I think Atlanta's draft position is good enough for Baltimore to make that trade and still be able to go into the top 5 picks really easily to go get their next franchise quarterback. Because that's a big discussion is whoever makes the trade, is the draft pick going to be in the top 4 to go get, the guy kind of deal. But I could really see any of these 6 teams making the pick for Lamar. Chimera in chat. Not the Jets, not the Jets, not the Jets. Because again, Chimera does not want a hard division. Basically having to pay Tua and possibly Lamar or Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. And like I said, Chimera, I'm sorry, but my prediction is that the Jets are going to be very aggressive in this quarterback market. There's going to be a good bit of free agent quarterbacks. There's going to be trade quarterbacks, because case in point, Lamar might be on the trade market. Aaron Rodgers is on the trade market. I'm pretty sure Derek Carr's going to New Orleans. But Garoppolo is going to be out there. Lance could be available. There's Matt Ryan's back if he doesn't retire. There's going to be a lot of quarterback movement. And the Jets don't want Garoppolo. I'm going to tell you that. They want Rodgers, Jackson, or they want someone that can bring them to the Super Bowl. So I'm sorry, Chimera, but you're going to have another QB in that division soon. Bet. Be more gunny. Could Seattle or Detroit be? And yeah, actually, that's why the Lions are on that list right there. I wouldn't even consider the Lions a long shot. I would consider them right. I would put actually the top 3 shots being Atlanta, Las Vegas, and Lions. And a lot of that is going to play into where Aaron Rodgers is going too. Of course, just like how we don't want Lamar staying in the AFC, I could see the Green Bay not wanting to keep Aaron Rodgers in the NFC, so the Jets could make a lot of sense with that pick. As for Seattle, I don't see them. I think they're pretty happy with Geno's growth. I think we could see Seattle bring in a young quarterback somewhere between 2nd and 4th round this year to kind of work behind Geno. Geno's contract's going to have a lot to play in it because I think he's due for a contract as well. But yeah, I don't see Seattle, but Lions a good shot because again, Lamar brings that energy that he could revitalize a fan base. So I could see Atlanta, Las Vegas, and Lions making the hard push if Lamar does hit the trade market. Kenneth, gotta go. Phone's run out of power. Thank you, Kenneth, for dropping in, man. You're awesome. I really appreciate all the questions, the view, everything. And again, we'll be doing more draft coverage. We're going to be doing a Bills special, a Packers special, and we're really trying to bring in actually a good bit of people here, potentially for draft night, and have maybe 4 to 8 people in the Discord, just casually talking draft as we watch the NFL draft unfold. Be More Gunny says, "I see the Lions. Never mind." Yeah, definitely. Like I said, Lions. Chimera really doesn't want to do with it. He's already got to deal with Tua Tagovailoa and Mac Jones. And the Patriots are one of those ones that could be in the market for DeAndre Hopkins as well. So Chimera, it might not just be Mac Jones. You might be dealing with DeAndre Hopkins and Mac Jones, which RIP at that point if that's what happens. Chimera says, imagine a Geno Stone versus Jared Goff NFC Championship next year. That would be absolutely hilarious. I mean, there's a small chance it could happen. There's no, if Geno doesn't regress, Seattle adds more talent around him. DK Metcalf comes back healthy. And the same thing with the Lions. I mean, dude, it's crazy, but it could happen. I would laugh my ass off, to be honest, if that's what happened. But yeah, I'm sorry, man. If DeAndre Hopkins doesn't come to Baltimore, he's going to New England. I have a strong feeling on that. And like we were saying, man, at that point, having to go through Tua and Tyreek, Mac and DeAndre, and what if you had to go through Rodgers and I'm trying to remember who the Jets' number 1 wide receiver is. Is not Crowder, but the Rodgers and oh my God, I would feel so sorry for the AFC East at that point. Like, can you imagine trying to play the AFC East at that point? Mac and DeAndre, Tua, Tyreek, Stephon and Allen, and Rodgers with, like I said, whoever they bring in, because they've got number 1 or a first round pick wide receiver as well. Like, that division instantly goes Super Bowl favorite somewhere from that division. And to be honest, all of that could really happen, guys. Like, it really could happen like that. Oh, I'm starting to get hungry. I don't know about y'all. And my dog's giving me that look like, can we go for a walk, please? My cute little puppy. But, yeah, Gunny, we went through a good bit here. One of the ways, Gunny, if you're still there, that we're trying to make some money, because, like right here, we're talking about the RFAs and restricted free agents, who we want to sign, the numbers on the restricted free agents, all that. So we have to come up with money. The Baltimore Ravens can actually create a good chunk of money by doing some extensions according to over the cap, which is, according to OTC, is over the cap. So by possibly extending Stanley, Zeitler, and Edwards, we can free up $9 million, $4.2, and $2 million respectively for this next year. Calais Campbell, technically, it says you can't restructure. You can only save by extending. So that $4.68 million for Calais Campbell, highly unlikely, but we added in there just in case. Also, we're talking trades to try to get some more picks because we only do have like 5 picks. Cutting or trading Tyus Bowser could save us $4.5 million because, again, in my ideal world, we're bringing back JPP, we're bringing back Houston, and of course, the future is Ojabo and Owe. Michael Pierce, he played well, but injuries and value with Broderick Washington, Travis Jones, and Justin Madubuike. If we could trade like Michael Pierce for like a 5th round pick, we could save $4 million there. And then Chuck Clark, if we end up trading Lamar, we don't have to get rid of Chuck. But if we trade him, we could save $3.4 million as well. And right there, if we could secure at least 1 pick per player, we're back up to 8 draft picks, basically, whether Lamar leaves or not. And so as we talked about, if we did everything that I wanted to do, made the extensions, did the trades, and re-signed all our free agents that I wanted to, we would have approximately $31.6 million in cap space. So to handle the restricted franchise tag, we would basically have to cut out Peters and Houston. So if we do the exclusive franchise tag, we don't have any money for DeAndre Hopkins. We don't have any money for free agents, and we still kind of have to find some money to sign our rookie class. So basically, we would be doing almost nothing in free agency. Whereas, of course, if we sign Lamar to an extension similar to Deshaun Watson's, the first year Deshaun Watson's, he was only paid $9 million. The next year was $54 million. So we enter really like a 1-year window before we got to blow the roster up. Which is again why the long-term prospect of trading Lamar and entering a 5-year window where we're in really good cap situation and keeping the team together while adding pieces is rather attractive. Let me see here. Gunny says, solid breakdown. Can't wait for the next show. Thank you, Gunny. I really appreciate it. I'm trying. Like I said, we're going to be doing a lot of draft coverage. The next show is going to be on the Buffalo Bills, I think, followed by the Green Bay Packers. After that, I'm still waiting on franchise tags, I think, at that point. So we'll probably head to draft coverage before we do free agency coverage. But of course, once we end the franchise tag window, we'll have a better idea of what the free agent market's going to look like. And with that, we'll also do a free agency preview. However, like we talked about, if we tag Lamar, we're not doing anything in free agency. If we work out extension, we might be able to work out like 1 or 2 deals. And of course, if we trade Lamar, we're going to be doing a lot. Let me see. Chimera at that point, just end my meaningless. I'm sorry, Chimera. If that's what your division turns into, the Super Bowl becomes a hard shot for you. 2 games against each one of those guys. Chimera, actually, you think I could call in tomorrow? I got a couple takes. I mean, dude, Chimera, yeah, if I'm doing the Bills, you're more than welcome to drop in while I do my takes. I actually would very much welcome, Chimera, your takes on the Bills because, while of course I'm going to be able to address some of the bigger names and like the contracts like this, your deeper knowledge on the depth of the team would be greatly appreciated, honestly. So, definitely, like I said, I'm going to be trying to get it up about the same time. I think I started the stream today at 6:30. I can't believe this has been going for 2 hours at this point. Hopefully we'll make a good podcast if I can get it uploaded. I don't know if my PC will handle it. But, yeah, you're definitely welcome to come in, Chimera. Like I said, we're on Discord together, so I'll make sure to send you some messages when I'm working on everything just to kind of give you a heads up of when I am going to go live. But we'll try to go live about 6:30 like we did today. And then we're going to do Bills tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get the Packers done next. Just doing almost like succession. You were in here first, and then our other friend, our other mod, oh my God, I keep forgetting his name, Penguin Goats. I've still promised Penguin Goats a short too, but I'm still working on all that as well. Like I said, I got a little bit going on with work and everything. With that said, guys, I think I covered everything I wanted to cover today. That is what I would do if I was the GM of the Baltimore Ravens. However, I'm not. I'm lower than armchair quarterback, guys. If you come in later, I know that I did this live, but we're going to put it up as a recording as well. If you come in, if you're here on the podcast, please like, subscribe, let me know. Darwin's Raven on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter. I got a Facebook group as well. We're building the Discord as we speak, guys, while we're trying to rebuild this PC. I truly appreciate everyone for dropping in. Let me know, for anyone that watches this later or listens to it, what would you do as the Baltimore Ravens GM? What would you change from my game plan? Or is there anything I'm missing? Chimera, Penguin Goats, Baltimore Ravens, Gunny, and Kenneth, thank you all for dropping in today. I really also appreciate the engagement and all the questions. You're always welcome. And with that, I think I'm going to kill the stream and podcast, guys, and D-Rave out. Like Chimera said, like, subscribe.